Okay, so this is a microlab, and this is what a microlab looks like. It has a very simple, straightforward kind of thing to do in GIS, but we go over all the background and setup and everything that you need to do, and it's for extra credit. This is for 12 points. So we're going to talk about joins. So a quick little outline, we're going to give you some background information, talk specifically about spatial joins and mention relates, and then you're going to do the little 12-point microlab. So again, two types of joins, spatial and attribute. Spatial joins are based on location, attributes are based on fields. Attribute joins are really pretty simple. You got two sets of attributes from two different data sets, or a table and a data set. You want to join one thing to the other thing, and what you're looking for is the same information in one column in one data set that is in another column in the other data set. The titles don't have to be the same, the names don't have to be the same, but the information has to be the same. For example, you could have cities, or you could have one called Cities Pop 20. Now what matters is that in both of those columns there are names of cities, so that you can match up a Winchester to a Winchester, or a Martinsburg to a Martinsburg, or a Reston to a Reston. It doesn't matter whether they're called cities or Cities Pop, or Pop Cities, or Dougal Flanders. It doesn't matter, as long as the information is the same information. Okay, spatial joins is what we're going to work with here today. Spatial joins is unique in that, unlike the temporary and removable attribute joins, spatial joins creates a brand new data set for you. And then if you make an attribute table, you have to export it to make a new data set. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but we're going to run through the process of how this all works. So what's a basic spatial join? Combines attributes, two data sets. Really straightforward stuff. Click on the one that you want to add it to, and that's the direction that it'll go. You choose the location, the attributes, all that kind of stuff. Here's what the little dialog box looks like that it pops up, and you can see in this example here was from what we did earlier with the Virginia towns and how that all kind of sets up. Alright? Now, I'm going to go through the step-by-step process, and if you follow along, you shouldn't have too much problem. So first, let's start with our data. You need to follow good GIS practices. So we're going to start off like this. You're going to download the zip files, the data that is in the microlab module on Canvas. Download those to your downloads folder. Once you're there, you're going to go to your downloads folder, and you're going to right click on those downloads and extract the data from those zip files to your working folder. Now, if you haven't got a working folder, you're going to need to make one, but that's what we're going to do with it. Then you're going to open up ArcMap. Don't choose any particular map or any of that stuff. Just cancel out that first box that opens up and asking you what kind of map you want. And what that does is that gives you an empty, unnamed map space. Okay, once you're going to have that, we'll go into Catalog, we'll make a new geodatabase, we'll locate it in your working folder and do some other stuff. And you're probably thinking, my God, you're going so fast, how am I ever going to do this? I'm just covering it as an overview now, and then I'm going to take you through step by step. You're going to make the folder connections to the various things that you need, join the county's data to the city so that every city has county information with it. And then you're going to go into the attributes, and that's going to be how we're going to tell if you did it correctly. And you'll walk through that and then find some information to answer some questions. And so, starting on the next slide, we'll begin that process. Okay, so starting from my background screen here, you can see that I have a working folder, and I simply just went right-clicked and created it. Above that, you see the two zip files that I downloaded, and you can download these to your downloads folder, or as in this case, I downloaded to my desktop. My next step was to extract both of those into the working folder. When you run an extraction on a zipped file, it asks you where you want the information to go. In this case, I chose that working folder that showed just a minute ago. You can uncheck that little box that says show extracted files when complete if you like, and then hit extract, and it will do exactly that. And then you do it for the other zip file, and you select the same location again. Now, if you were to open up that working folder after extracting both of those, you'll see all those different files, and this is why we don't move shape files around with Windows. Instead, we use Catalog, because if you misplace one of these, it will not work. So the next step is getting started. You open up your ArcMap, and the first thing that pops up is this little GUI that asks you which map you want to open or what type, and you can browse for recents and pick templates and all that kind of stuff. And what I want you to do is nothing. Just click Cancel. Once you click Cancel, it'll open up just a genuine blank default map with nothing in it. It'll look just like this. Next, you'll click on the catalog icon there underneath the word Windows where the blue arrow is pointing, and that will open up the catalog pane. Once the catalog pane is open, it'll be much like you see here on this, where it's over along the right, and we can do some things that we need to do. First of all is making connections. The little folder icon with the black plus symbol is a Connect To folder button. You're going to connect on that and then find your way to connect to that working folder on your desktop where you just extracted all that data. The Connect To folder opens up a GUI, a graphic user interface, to where you can scroll up and down the list and find that working folder that you're looking for somewhere, and then simply click OK, and it will add that connection to the list of connections that you see on Catalog there on the right. And so once we've done that, we can proceed on to the next step. In Catalog, the lab folder is now shown up there on the right, and the working folder that we made is there as well with the stuff that's in that. And so our next step is we need to create a geodatabase, and we need to have it in the right location. So we're going to do another connection, connect a folder to the second folder we made, one called Lab, and that is for the thing we're working on. So our data is all in the working folder, but we need to make a connection to the Lab folder because that's where we want to put our permanent for keep stuff. So once we've got that second connection, now you can't really see it too well, but right about the middle of that blue circle, the third one down from folder connections, that is the link to that lab folder. And then the next step would be to right click on it and to go to New File Geodatabase, and a little GUI will pop up, and you can fill it out, do whatever you need to do, and it'll create this new file geodatabase that you see right there. In that, at least I think there's a GUI comes up. I can't really remember for sure right now. I'm trying to do this off notes. Okay, so once it creates the new file, the next step is to move those shape files there at the bottom of that blue circle, the county places and populated places, county boundaries and populated places, into that geodatabase. It turns out you can't just drag them up there, but you can go up to the new file geodatabase and right click on it, and there's an option there to import, and you can import multiple features. And if you do, it opens up this particular tool, this graphic user interface we've got here in the middle, where you can then select the folder under input features and find the folder over there, the one that has the county boundaries and the populated places data in, and then you can select those two data sets. And for your output geodatabase, you make sure that that is the file, the new file geodatabase that's in your lab folder. And then once you've done that, all you got to do is click OK, and it'll take care of the rest. So now you can see that my new file geodatabase in the lab folder there on the right, and in it you see the county boundaries and the populated places, and you also see the new file geodatabase is now emboldened in really bold font. If you right click on that file geodatabase, you have an option to set it as the default, and I did that. The next step in this process is to join data. And so we want to join our populated places and our counties together. But what we want is the county information to be attached to the populated places. And so I simply went to populated places, right clicked, and looked for the option of join. And when I did, this interface box comes up, and make note of what I selected here: join data from another layer based on spatial locations. This is a spatial join, And then I simply had to choose what layer I was going to join it to, which was going to be the county boundary layers. And what am I joining? Polygons to points. Exactly. And then I have two options. If it falls inside, is closest to, and I went with it falls inside because what I want is for every city or place that's in a county to have all the county information attached to it. And then the next thing is the bottom one down there where you can see the location that popped up. That's not where I want it to go. I want it to go to my default geodatabase in my lab folder instead of the join output shapefile in the lab 200 folder. So I would have to change that. And you can't see this behind it because I just wanted to pop open the layer properties and show you that they were in a particular projection. And here is the layer properties for the other one, and it too is in the same projection. Sorry about that. And then I tried to draw around it because I got tired of using the pre-made shapes to point out that they're both the same. Again, too bad the join data button thing there is covering it up. So once I've done that, then I would go on to do the join data like I've already mentioned. And then I would change the output location to my new file geodatabase, and then in that you would see that the existing two files were there, and it would create the new one, which I called places_counties, and then I hit save. And once I did that, if you look in the table of contents there on the left, you'll see that there are these new this new data set called places_counties, and they're just like the populated places, except they have the county's attributes attached to them. Now, here's a little trick I'm going to show you. If you were to right-click on the places_counties and looked at the layer properties, one of the things is called fields. And if you look there on the list on the left, that's every field that was in the attributes of either of the other two data sets before we joined them. And so I don't need all that. And so I went through and looked at the ones that I didn't need, and I just unchecked the boxes on a whole bunch of them. And that made my attribute table a lot smaller. Now the ones you want to keep are anything to do with names or populations. You want to keep all of those. But a lot of that other stuff you can just turn off. And so once I did that, it made my attribute table look somewhat like this. And so just for reference, name 10 is an important field to have, as well as name, as well as these various populations like POP210, POP2000. Now POP210 is a population of the city. And on over there, like POP2000, that is the population of the county. So that's population numbers from two different data sets. And this is going to be important because at some point I'm going to ask you to figure out which county has the largest population, and then which city in that county has the most people. And so how would you do something like that? You could click on any one of these columns at the top and sort them descending. So if you went over to, for example, population 2000 and sorted descending, it would put the largest population at the top, and you could look to the left and see which county that was. And then once you see that that's all, for example, if it was Marshall County, you could go over here to the far left of the screen and click those little bitty squares and drag down until you've highlighted or selected all of, say, Marshall County, at which time you could then go over to the other population number, the POP210, that is for the cities, and sort that descending, and guess what's going to happen? If you go to the bottom of the screen where it says 0 out of 401 selected, once you select some of them, you can click the little blue icon to the right of the mixed colored icon, and that will only show up the ones that are selected, and then you would be able to see right away which city has the most population in that county. And so that's a kind of a helpful hint for what you're going to do later. So at this point, with the data joined from one to the other, you're basically done. And so if we're joining based on a field, it wouldn't be quite the same. It would be simple, it would be relatively easy, and it would be temporary, and to make it, you'd have to export it. And so that's kind of the steps that you're going to go through. If you followed all these steps and you completed everything just as I did, you're going to have your county data joined to your places, and you can then find out all kinds of information simply by either sorting individual columns by their ascending or descending, and looking at them that way. So here's what you're going to do. There's a little quiz, and all you got to do is just check it out, ask a couple questions, 6 questions, 2 points each, get them all right, 12 bonus points. And then possibly later tonight, it's Tuesday the 15th, or if not, sometime tomorrow, I will post another micro lab, and then another, and then another, and then the 4th one. Ultimately, this is an opportunity for you to pick up 50 points, which is almost as much as the first regular exam. So this is a really good opportunity for you if you didn't do well in the last exam, if you need some help, if you've fallen behind, to get right with yourself, to get right with the class, because I want all of you, honestly want all of you, not just to learn this, but to do well and to be able to proceed. The hardest thing in GIS is getting through the first class, because everything is foreign, everything is strange, everything is difficult. And the only way to make it less difficult is to cover less material and to teach you less. And the problem with that is it takes too long. We don't have enough time as far as your academic time at Nova to do that. GIS is a really big field. We want you to do well, and that's going to require you to commit to do well. I will fight with you and for you every step of the way, but you got to meet me halfway. I can't just give you the grades. I can't just give you the degree. But if you're willing to do the work, even if you get it wrong, as long as you do the work, you'll learn. At the end of the semester, you'll be okay for the most part. If you take opportunities to get these extra credits to help offset things like bad scores on exams, you'll be okay, and we'll get you to the next class. And the next class will be a bunch easier because you'll have a deeper appreciation and understanding of what you're doing. And every step of the way, you'll get better and smarter and faster and more clever. And by the time you're done, you'll have some real skills. So good luck, and see you next week.